We just got some new fights announced for January and February, and today I'm going to be doing an early fight breakdown. Well, actually, I'm fucking doing two of them. I'm doing two early fight breakdowns for Jiri Prochazka versus Jamahal Hill, which is a great scrap. Both these guys just coming off of brutal knockout losses to Alex Pereira, but they're fighting UFC 311 January 18th, and then we also have a really great elite grappling bout. We have Fluffy Hernandez taking on Brendan Allen to battle out which one gets to go into the top 10, which one gets to maintain the spot. So, two great fights, and I just want to kind of talk to you about it this week. We do not have a fight card this week, which fucking sucks, but obviously, UFC 310 is absolutely stacked next week. So let's just start by breaking down Jiri Prochazka versus Jamahal Hill. So like I said, man, this is a really good fight. It is a bit odd in regards because, like, yeah, there's big implications for this fight. Like, there are stakes on the line for both guys and just the division. But it's also, like, odd because this doesn't necessarily bring you closer to a title. Like, the stakes are high for both these guys, like, at this point in their careers. In terms of getting closer to a title, like, I guess it gets you closer. It doesn't really get you closer. It just gets you less far away, you know, because, I mean, Hill's last fight, brutal round 1 knockout. Jiri's last fight, brutal round 2 knockout. I mean, he took a lot of damage in that fight. So I like that he's kind of taking some rest because you got to think how much damage he took in the Alexander Rakic fight as well. And then that was April, turned around to June. It's a really quick turnaround. I know Pereira did the exact fucking same thing, but, like, you got to consider, like, Prochazka went through a fucking war, a 2-round war, and then Alex Pereira pretty much had a relatively easy time just walking through Jamahal Hill. So whoever wins this fight, they're going to get to maintain their spot in the top 3, and whoever loses it probably going to have to be fighting down. Well, they have to fight down. They're going to be fighting down, and I just think these guys can't afford a loss right now. Like, Jiri still has a bit of his aura. Obviously, we know the kooky-ass samurai dude, right? He's always been full of aura, but the thing is, like, after this last loss, I mean, when he's fallen into Herbstein's arms, dude, it crushes you, all right? It breaks a man. So we want to see Prochazka get a nice win. I know that Hill is pretty hated by most. It's been interesting to see a lot of people kind of picking Hill to win this one, whether it be by fandom or just by, like, genuinely thinking he's going to win. And honestly, man, this fight is really close to a pick'em for me. I really don't know which way to lean. Well, I kind of do, but I'll get to that. But this is a pick'em fight for me. Like, it's really hard to tell, like, who's going to get the better of who because both these guys are primarily strikers. Like, yeah, they can get it when it goes to the ground. Like, we saw Jiri Prochazka submit Glover Teixeira. It was insane. But obviously, these guys are both going to want to keep it on the feet, I would assume. And we're in for some really good striking exchanges, man. I mean, both these guys have power. Both these guys know that they need a big win, a big statement, a big finish. And we all know that Jiri Prochazka fights do not go the distance. I feel like this is a guaranteed banger, man. I mean, Hill's going to try and bring it because I feel like he has a lot to prove after all this, like, Alex Pereira shit. Because going into the fight, I feel like he was being pretty disrespected. But also not. Like, the odds makers had it really close. A lot of people were saying that, like, Hill had a real chance, but then, you know, you can't talk to Pereira fans like that, bro. They were you were the most, like, you belonged in an insane asylum if you fucking thought that Jamahal Hill was winning for some reason. I mean, I thought it was a fair argument to pick him. Hill is good, but because he has a dislikable personality and because he hasn't been super active the past couple years for, you know, this reason, that reason, whatever the fuck may be, actions speak louder than words, and the actual actions, I mean, the action he's had in the last few years is getting knocked out to Alex Pereira, which sucks. Because that Glover win, January 23, was really fucking good. And before that, he was packing up some good wins. People forget, man. But Jamahal Hill is a really good fighter. He has crisp boxing. He made it to championship levels for a reason. He has good cardio. He has some solid names on his resume. Like, is Jamahal Hill the most well-rounded, skill-for-skill fighter on the roster? No. But, like, he does present problems for Jiri. Like, his power on one hand could rock Jiri because Jiri's chin is going to be the biggest factor in this fight, in my opinion. And maybe that's just me, but I really do think that Jiri has one of the best chins in the UFC. Now, that was before the last fight, okay? And I'm not saying just because you get caught by Pereira a couple times, like, I mean, he took a lot of shit in that fight, at UFC 303 specifically. But, like, it's Alex Pereira, one of the hardest hitters pound for pound in the UFC. I don't think losing to Pereira the second time said anything bad about Prochazka or even Prochazka's chin, but going into the future after that, like, once you really get rocked like that and you're falling into Herb Dean's arms, and, like, even for somebody like Jiri, man, to see him like that kind of shook people. And, like, Prochazka took so much damage in the Rakic fight. And even, like, in the first Pereira fight, like, I mean, it was an alright stoppage, but it was early because Jiri was still in it. And he could just take damage and he can deliver it 8 times more. You know what I mean? He can hand it back to you. And I think that Jiri, though, although he does have a really good chin, how is it going to be now after that whole Pereira thing? Like, is he going to be easier to get wobbled? Is it going to be easier to get knocked out? Is it going to be easier to get knocked down? I'm not really sure. Is his capacity for taking damage going to be cut in half? I really don't know. That's why this is the biggest question, because if Jiri Prochazka has the granite chin that we have seen him have until that last fight, I feel like I would be pretty set on picking Prochazka. But, and no disrespect to Hill, but I'm just saying the fact that that chin is kind of wavering now. And again, it could have just been the one performance. I mean, Alex Pereira, like I said, is that guy right now. But you got to think Hill also is very powerful. And there's something just in the fucking air, dude, all right? COVID fucked something up because right now I have this bad feeling that the MMA gods, they don't want us to get a Jiri win, all right? We have like Dominic Reyes, Piotr Jan, and other people that made a comeback this year. Like they're sprinkling us with a bit of hope. Jiri Prochazka, man, we need a Prochazka win, man. This guy's pound for pound one of the most entertaining fighters on the entire roster. People like this dude. He's a full violence guy, but it's just like, I don't know if they're going to be that good to us. I could see the villain winning because the bad guys win in MMA, man. Unfortunately, a lot of the time, and Jamahal Hill is one of the biggest villains in the company right now. And like, even though a lot of people are playing on his downfall, like the thing is, I could see him winning this fight, and I'm leaning towards him because the power behind those hands, man. He's crisp on the feet, solid takedown defense, good cardio, good pace. He does present problems. Now, Jiri also does present a lot of problems for Jamahal Hill. Like, he has such a weird, unorthodox, bizarre style. Like, he has some of the most, it's not like Dricus Duplessis or Renier de Ritter, kind of like drunk man striking, but in its own right, it's just very fucking bizarre. I don't even know how to word it. And half the time, hands are low, and he's taking these big shots, and it's very bizarre. But like I said, defensively on the feet, like Jiri does have a few holes, and if Hill catches him with that right shot, he could go out. I'm in the car really quick, don't question it. But I did forget to add that I do think the biggest enemy or the biggest thing that's going to be a problem for Jamahal Hill is going to be the pressure, the volume, and the intensity. Just the in-your-face aggression of Jiri Prochazka. He brings this like war-like mentality to it, man, and he's going to be on him from round 1 to 3 or 5, whatever it may be. And if Jamahal Hill, like I said earlier, because of the holes in Jiri's shin, if he finds that right shot, because Jiri's going to be coming forward like a madman, or maybe he's going to start slow in round 1, that could leave openings where I think Jamahal can catch him. But if it's all about if he can survive that, you know what I mean? Because Jiri is just going to come forward like a motherfucker and is going to bring a lot of adversity to Jamahal in the feet. It's all about who's going to prevail. I don't see this fight going to the ground. Jamahal Hill is not going to fucking shoot a takedown. I can guarantee you that. Nor do I think he ever has in his UFC career. But if Jiri can sense he's kind of in danger on the feet or he gets put in uncomfortable positions, maybe Hill's closing the distance. I can see Prochazka trying to take it to the ground, but I think both these guys are looking for a finish, man. I feel like this fight is going to be high-paced, high action, high energy. People are going to be excited for it. Both these guys know they need to go make a statement. The winner could fight like a Khalil Roundtree, maybe like Magomed Ankalaev if he loses. But the person that loses this fight, man, like, you got to think, like, if it is Jamahal Hill coming off of the layoff and you really need hype back, and then you lose to Pereira and then you lose to Prochazka, those two in a row, there's nothing wrong with losing to those two names in a row. They're elite wins. You know, Prochazka is as good as it gets, and Pereira is a top 15, top 10 fighter of all time. But it's more so just about like the momentum going forward. And especially, like I said, like if Prochazka wins, I feel like it's going to be up by a finish and more so a knockout. So like, that's not going to be good for Hill's chin. It's not going to be good for his momentum, you know, might put him in a halt. And when you have Jiri Prochazka, man, coming off of like, he lost to Pereira the first time, yeah, early stoppage, but also not, he lost, and then good win over Rakic, took a lot of damage though, and then coming off of the brutal KO to Pereira, and then if he gets a brutal KO to Hill, it's the same thing, like aura wise, momentum wise, chin wise, it's just not good for either guy. So I feel like the stakes are high for this one. If I'm gonna lean one way right now, I'm probably leaning towards Hill, but it is hard to tell in my opinion. Like Prochazka, I think, has the skills and just is a better fighter than Jamahal Hill, but just if I had to lean one way right now, it would be towards Jamahal Hill. But it's a pick-em for me, dude. I feel like it's a really close fight. I am curious what the betting odds are going to be. So moving on to the next one, we have February 22nd for, I think, rumored to be in Seattle. They gotta fucking come back to Chicago, dude. What are they doing to us? They just refuse to come back to the States other than like the main 5, dude. It's ridiculous. I mean, so I have like a fight night related video coming up next week, and like just going over all the ones that were in that Apex, I thought it was way less, but it's genuinely just most of them still, even in 2024. It's fucking absurd, but hopefully next year we might be stepping on a bit more. I mean, Allen versus Hernandez, though, this is a great fight. We're going to see elite grappling on display. This is great matchmaking, in my opinion. It makes sense. Both these guys are elite grapplers. Now, the thing is, though, they're two different kinds of grapplers, in my opinion. You got Brendan Allen, all right, who's Yeah, he's good at advancing positions. He's good at getting the submissions. He has a lot in his resume, especially in the UFC. He knows how to hold you down there. Has a nice rear naked choke. Like Brendan Allen, man, like he is good and he has really good grappling and he's worthy of being in that top 10 to 15. But the thing is, man, Anthony Hernandez's kind of grappling is more aggressive, in your face, attitude era kind of shit because this guy's a finisher. Not that Brendan Allen isn't. Allen does have a lot of finishes, especially by submission, but Anthony Hernandez is so in your face, aggressive, explosive, relentless, man. And like when it comes to the grappling, like he'll pick you up and he'll put you down. He'll try and rip your head off, choke your head off. He's constantly looking for the finishes in fights, on the feet and on the ground. And like that's the difference in the grappling, in my opinion. Like Hernandez just has that more relentless grappling. And I feel like that's going to play in his favor. I feel like his pace and pressure and just aggressiveness is going to give him a lot of edges in this fight against Allen. Now, Allen is going to want to control the pace, control where the fight goes, control the momentum, try and get Hernandez down when he wants. But the thing is, I don't think Hernandez is going to allow that to happen. Hernandez is so much more well-rounded, in my opinion, because when it comes to the striking between these two, Allen's striking isn't great. Okay, it's not that good of striking. This guy wants the fight to be on the ground most of the time against most opponents. It's his style, but the thing is, Hernandez, he could play any field. Like, he has the power to knock you out on the feet, and he also has the power to get you down on the ground, and he also has the power to choke you out while you're on the ground. So, he's very well-rounded. He has really good cardio. He could put forth the pace and the pressure and the volume, put a lot of power behind those shots. So, I think he presents a lot of problems for Brendan Allen, especially on the feet. I feel like the gap in their striking is pretty big, whereas the grappling, it's a lot closer in terms of skill. You can kind of argue who could get the better of who on the ground, but in terms of the striking, man, I feel like Fluffy is just going to piece him up, fuck him up there, and I could see a knockout from him. I could also see a sub. I could see a decision. I'm going to be going with Hernandez for this one. I think he can get it done genuinely however he wants. Like, Brendan Allen, you know, he does have a solid chin, but he also is shown to be rocked a few times. You know, he's been knocked out in his career. Has it been a lot? No. But it has happened a couple times, and I mean, one of them was to fucking Sean Strickland, so, like, I feel like I could see it getting done again. Don't get me wrong. Imavov is a really good striker as well, and he wasn't able to, you know, take him out of there, even though he was landing good shots. That fight went to a decision, but again, Brendan Allen lost that one. Before that, though, don't get me wrong, he was on a good win streak. Was he fighting the best of names? Not really. Like, the most notable highlights were Paul Craig, Andre Muniz, and Chris Curtis, and don't get me wrong, those are good wins for building the foundation and really getting a good fucking win streak going. They're good wins, you know, and he was finishing most of these guys, but it's just like, Fluffy Hernandez is not Chris Curtis, and he's not Bruno Silva, he's not Jacob Malkoun. Like, Fluffy Hernandez, in my opinion, is the future of the UFC. I've been talking about him lately a lot, I feel like, but like, this guy is gonna be sticking around the top 5 for a while. There's a lot of favorable matchups for him in the rankings, and you know, you have divisions like welterweight and middleweight that were kind of stuttering from like, yeah, there's good talent here, but maybe they're not really active or fighting each other, and like, we're not seeing the matchups we need to see. But like, now the new era and the new generation, the prospects are taking over and really entering the rankings, and it's, I feel like, the most prominent in divisions like welterweight and middleweight. You also have it in flyweight and bantamweight as well, but like, we're in the turning of the eras right now, man. And Brendan Allen is young. I'm not trying to make him like he's this like old vet that's been around the game for 100 fucking years, but it's just like, Fluffy Hernandez is gonna be around for a while. He's a relatively kind of unknown name to many people, but like, I feel like he's gonna be put on the spot. The Michelle Pereira fight, the fact that they gave them a main event, which I thought was great, by the way, because I feel like a lot of us could sense, like, it was a really big prospect versus prospect fight, and the winner of that fight was going to go around and stick around the top 10 and go to new heights for a while in the middleweight division, and the loser was going to go wherever they go. And then Pereira lost, got a bit exposed. He didn't have really anything at all past the first fucking round. I think that's one, just due to him not having good cardio, just not bringing it, or really just thinking he was going to be able to take out Hernandez in the first round. And two, it is just the smothering, it's just the skill, the prowess, and the fucking dominance of Fluffy Hernandez. I think Michelle Pereira is a good fighter. I mean, he's elite, but I think he got exposed, but I also just think Fluffy's that good. And like I'm saying, the fact that they gave these guys the main event spot, was it a good fight night? No. Was it in the apex of all fucking places? Yeah. So a bit unfortunate, but it still put Fluffy over. So starting to kind of gain some momentum and names, but I still think like he's just really underrated. And I don't know if it's going to matter too much if this fight's 3 rounds or 5 rounds, because I feel like both guys have solid cardio. Allen kind of gassed out a bit in his last fight, and we've seen him gas out a bit at times in other performances. But for the most part, he has kind of decent cardio. And Fluffy does have good cardio as well because he brings forth kind of a different volume and pressure than Allen does. Allen kind of just wants to smother guys, get you to the ground when he can in advanced positions when he's down there. But I would like to see this fight be a 5-rounder. Like, I think it would answer questions for both guys, and like I want to see it just kind of go the extra miles, but I'm also fine with the 3-rounder. But Allen's last performance in Paris, I do want to talk about this. It just wasn't great, man. The first round, yeah, he got a takedown really quick and successfully, and it looked clean, but he did nothing with it. You know, he didn't advance positions. He just kind of held him there, just flat down in the middle of the fucking cage. Next round, I mean, it was a clear, you know, win of the round for him, but like nothing really happened besides that. Like, he got the takedown, but that was it. And after that, man, it was low fight IQ, poor striking, so many failed takedown attempts. Like, all of this was just occurring right after that. Like, it was a pretty weak performance from Allen, really kind of gassed in the second and third, and was just making so many questionable decisions. Like, there were moments where he actually looked kind of solid on the feet, but he just chose to shoot these random ass takedowns instead that did nothing for him. Like, he was just face planting himself towards the canvas for no reason. Like, he would look kind of solid on the feet, like in that third round, and then he would just shoot, and he would completely just take 1 step forward and 3 steps back. Again, just a bit of low fight IQ. I don't know if it's because he was in, like, you know, enemy territory. I know there was a bunch of bullshit at the weigh-ins before with like the piss test and all that, or the blood, and I get that shit matters, man, but it's just like, it was a bad performance. It was a bad look. Now Imavov's in the top 5, and Brendan Allen is fighting down. So striking wise, Pluffy's gonna get the better of him. Grappling, you can kind of go back and forth, but I think Hernandez is gonna win by decision, knockout, sub, or whatever he wants. And yeah, that's kind of gonna be it for my kind of like early fight breakdowns for these 2 fights. Let me know what you guys think of these matchups below and my thoughts, and just give me yours. We're just here to talk MMA. So I appreciate you guys so very much making this far in the video. Thank you so very much for watching. We just hit 400 subscribers. I appreciate you guys a lot for that, so thanks so much for tuning in. It's heavily appreciated. So yeah, no fight card this week. Kind of fucking sucks. It is what it is, but 310 is next week, and hopefully it will be very worth it. So thank you so very much for watching All the Smoke MMA show. Appreciate y'all, and I will see you guys next time. Let me know your thoughts below.